Another man who suffered a terrible injustice as a result of a favour was Steve Nipper Ellis. He was kind enough to allow a friend named Tate to move into his home because he had nowhere else to live. When Tate's friend Tony Tucker turned on Ellis over a childish remark he had made, Tate, Tucker and others embarked upon a campaign of terror that was not only directed at Ellis but his father and young sisters.
I first met Pat Tate in 1989 when I was in Chelmsford. That's where Pat was. Pat Tate turned up in Chelmsford. He was massive, you couldn't miss him. And he used to go down to the gym. I used to train, try and do my bit of training. And Pat and I became mates. Used to train together. I got out in 91, but Pat had already got a 10 by then, 10 years. So he was down in Swaleside. I used to go down and see him. We stayed in touch, became good mates. And when he got out in 94, he came to stay with me in my flat. Basically, he got out. Sarah, his girlfriend, was pregnant. Or I think she'd given birth then. And she didn't have room in her flat. So Pat come and stayed with me. And we sort of led our life of criminal activities. Through him, I got introduced to Tony Tucker and Craig Rolfe.
Tony Tucker and Craig Rolfe were key members of the Essex boys firm that I unwittingly formed. 38-year-old Tucker was a huge man who liked to throw his weight around and give the impression that he was in control. His dominance in the gang attracted lots of impressionable young girls. Despite having a living girlfriend, he would date countless females and had formed a relationship with a 15-year-old named Donna.
Donna's phoned me up one Sunday night. Said, "Where's Tony?" I said, "He's home with Aaron, probably shaking the arse off her by now." Anyway, she told Tony, and 10 days later, Pat and I had to go out for an ID parade where we bashed up some guy who'd robbed one of the girls who was working for Pat. Tony's come round to my flat that morning when we was due to go for the ID parade. And he had a key. I'd give him the key. He was mug that I was. He had a key, and he's walked in with Pete Cuffey and Craig Rolfe, and he said, "Where's the tool?" Meaning a 2-2 revolver that was just at my place. So I said, "Oh, hang on." So I got the revolver out. I got the gun out. It was under the stairs, so I got it out. I said, "Look, it's clean. It's loaded." I said, "Be careful." With that, he had the gun in his right hand, and he grabbed me by the throat and pushed me against the wall. And he was just banging a gun in my head. And he kept saying, "Fuck my bird up the arse, fuck my bird up the arse. I'll show you what you can do." And I didn't know what he was referring to. He was referring to when Donna had phoned me up and said, Where's Tony?" And I said, "Oh, he's probably home fucking the arse off Anna by now." So he kept bashing this gun in my head, and I just kept thinking I'm dead. I knew it was loaded, so I'd loaded it. And I was just thinking, "Oh, I'm dead," you know. And he kept just saying, "Fuck my bird up the arse, fuck my bird up the arse. I'm going to show you what this can do." With that, he took me by the throat round to the back bedroom, put me on the bed. I think he knelt over me, or he was in front of me, and he was going, "I'm going to show." He kept saying, he was frothing, his eyes were out his nut, and he kept saying, "I'm going to show you what this can do." So anyway, after how long he got off me, put the gun away, pulled out a meat cleaver, and he said, "Your hand or your foot?" I just thought, well, if you take off my foot, I won't be able to run. If you take off my hand, I'll still shoot you, prick. So I held out my right hand, shut my eyes, thought, I'm going to scream, I'm going to cry, but I'm going to kill you. And I kept thinking, I'm going to scream, I'm going to cry, but I'm going to kill you. Nothing happened. I don't know after how long. I looked up, and he was standing there grinning. With that, he put here's a meat cleaver, he put it back in his top, and he walked out of the room, and I got off the bed and went, "What the fuck have I done, Tucker?" And he turned back round, pulled out the meat cleaver, and he went like that to hit me on the head, and I just thought, "We'll do it." Pete Cuffey pushed me in the room, and he went, "Let him calm down, let him calm down." I said, "I haven't done anything." And after that, it went totally bonkers. I went down for the ID parade. Pat never showed up. The guy had been told, basically, drop it. When I come out the police station and got told it was dropped, I then phoned up Pat, said I was out of order for what I'd done. And I said, "What have I done?" Phoned Tony. Tony said, "You told my bird that I fuck her up." I said, "I never said that." And he said, "Well, we'll come around and sort it out." I said, "Well, don't bother," I said, "I won't be there." Went up to London, got the handgun, bought the bulletproof, come back, went and got a pump action off someone. I used to drive around looking for Pat, Tony and Craig. Basically, it was me against them.
Ellis was not driven by anger, it was fear. The trio had threatened to execute him, threatened his father, and threatened to cut his younger sister's fingers off. The most dangerous man is a frightened man in a corner. Ellis had thrown a brick through Tate's bathroom window, and when he peered outside to see who was responsible, Ellis shot him.
One night, Pat got shot, and a couple of days later I found Tony and Craig at the back of my house. I walked up the back alleyway and I see them. Before they see me, I pulled out the gun, took a shot at Tony. Pulled out the gun, Tony went on the floor, he was going, ah, literally screaming like a little girl. Not screaming, he was whimpering like a little kid. The gun misfired. He's looked up, seen me, he goes, I'm going to get you for that now. Nipper, I went, you are, you prick. Pulled the gun, bullet went. He ran off, I pulled out a pump, chased him up the road, him and Craig up the road. They got away. But then Pat was in hospital after he got shot the first time, and he made a statement saying it was me. And then Tony and Craig made a statement saying I chased him up the road with pump action. Basically all grassed me up, and I eventually got nicked. Got nicked with a gun.
Did you want to kill him because you thought you were a tough guy, or would you want to do it through fear, for the intimidation?
I had no choice. Couldn't go to the police and say, look, I've been threatened by Pat, Tony and Craig. So what are they going to do? Pull them in and say, naughty, naughty, don't threaten Nipper. And then I'm a grass as well. I had no choice.
Was it just pressure on you, though? Or did they...
They threatened my family.
What did they do to your family?
Threatened to kidnap one of my... They threatened to kidnap my sisters. I've got 5 sisters. And they threatened to kidnap one of them and take her fingers off until I was man enough to go and face them. My dad was threatened numerous occasions. They went round there. They sent somebody round there. My dad said a guy was there with a gun. I don't know. There was numerous occasions, and when they threatened my sister, right, I didn't know what sister it was. They said they were going to chop her fingers off. So got my sisters out of school. I had a shotgun. My dad had a shotgun. I was at the front gate. My dad was at the back gate. Stepmum went in and got my sisters. They came out. They disappeared. When we said everyone, my family just went, and it was just me against them, because I had no choice. It was my family. And I even phoned up that fucking arsehole Carlton Leach, because there was no way out. And I said, Carlton, stick a bullet in my head, because I've got no choice. He just said he couldn't. He wanted to know what happened. So I said, basically, they're after my family. And he said, well, I don't agree with that. And he had a word with Tony, and they said, leave town, and we'll leave your family alone. After they'd all grasped me up, and...
So how did you feel when you heard they'd been murdered?
Various different happy feelings. And everyone seems to think that I had something to do with the actual killings of them when they actually got killed in the Range Rover. You know, some people think I'm some sort of frigging nutcase who goes around shooting people.
Steve Ellis was never charged with shooting Pat Tate, but he did serve a lengthy prison sentence for the possession of firearms. His tormentors, Tucker, Tate and Rolfe, were dealt summary justice a year later when they were shot through the head as they sat in their Range Rover, which was parked down a deserted farm track.